living in a country which gets impacted by refugees. Here, you know you have to deal with them in a way that is constructive, inclusive, and yet keep your angle and fight on everything else you're trying to do. That is the reality of our lifetime. So to think that you can somehow take challenges and segregate them into neat buckets, one called poverty and one called everything else, or climate change, just is not true. Because the challenges in our lifetime have got intertwined, and they feel a bit like a perfect storm coming together. So to think that, pandemics and fragility and climate change and food insecurity. I've traveled to many countries and met about 90 odd country ministers and leaders. One of the things I learned from all of them is that this intertwined nature of challenges is their daily reality. When you rely on rains for agriculture, you get good rainfall, you get 2 crops. You get 2 crops, now you can afford to keep cattle. You keep cattle, you get dairy income. You get dairy income, now you can employ a farm laborer. You can employ a farm laborer, the children go to school, including the girl child. That's a change in the outlook.
I just want to say first that we are not excluding climate crisis from our reform agenda. So our reform agenda is the comprehensive one, and climate is the daily priority for us, and probably my colleague will touch on this. Of course, in the journey of adapting to climate, you have crises and shocks like drought and what we just had as a natural catastrophe. So what is important is to rapidly come with urgent solutions to tackling and mitigating the impact of the crisis, which we are doing currently with the earthquake. Why quickly? Because first for safety and for assisting the population, because they need you to respond urgently. And urgently because we cannot be waiting for the reform plan and agenda. This is very important. So for the drought, for instance, been there for 40 years, but the strong reform agenda has allowed for the fact that 30 years ago, such a drought would have dropped the added value of agriculture 30%, because a lot has been done on preparing better for the, I would say, climate crisis.
Minister for Energy Transition and Sustainable Development for Morocco. So I'd like to say Morocco doesn't have oil or any natural gas, and the country does currently depend on imports for about 90% of its energy needs. Most of that, of course, is from fossil fuel.
Indeed. I think part of the answer is in the question. A huge informal sector that we want to bring in to the formal side, but by taking into account the fact that we cannot have that development model without having it inclusive. So linking financing and funding to the structural reforms that we are conducting in the country is very much embedded in how we look into energy transition, the energy sector, the upstream sector, because mind you, we're not only an oil and gas exporter, but we are a fertilizer exporter, and we have some sort of commodities that we are also leveraging and monetizing. And also on the sustainable development side, the way we are tackling sectors like waste management, with solar PV panel on the kit of batteries, and by the way, digitalization as well, because we want to ensure that our kids go back to school as fast as possible. We cannot do that with the current traditional financing mechanism to really make sure that the money flows very fast to the local communities where they are needed. So everything is in detail in those prospects.
Quite interesting. Thank you, Minister.